Welcome back to Alpacamade. It's great to see you again. June 14th, 2020, we cut the soap Sunday morning when you would have been watching the making of the hot process soap, and it turns out it's not quite the same recipe after all. The first difference is that we added shea butter, even though we still have a great deal of olive oil in this recipe. We added shea butter, and we also added a fragrance oil. The thing I forgot to add, which would have only made one difference instead of two, is I forgot to add the oatmeal. So there's no oatmeal in this soap. So let's talk about the differences in cutting. And I have to say I did not film the cutting because I really needed to have time to sit and think about what I was doing and weigh different things, make sure that my cuts to the best of my ability were even and so forth. So I'm sorry about that, no video of the cutting. But as you can see, the cuts are more even, but the bar is much softer than the cold process. So that meant that the bar wobbled around a little bit, and the cuts on the bottom are not even. I'm probably going to do a little shaving and trimming. I also made those little, what are supposed to be 2-ounce puck size samples, and I don't know if I'm going to actually use those little pucks for samples of hot process soap, because by the time you get done filling your loaf and dropping it down so it taps down, what's left in the pot, the scrapings and what's little bits left, is already starting to cool quicker than is suitable for molding, and those little pucks just, I don't know, I guess maybe it's up to the tester whether they care if it's a thin slice or a puck, and the pucks are between a 1/2 ounce and I think the heaviest one is 0.9 ounces. So samples will be roughly an ounce. Let's talk about the texture difference. The cold process soap, if you remember, is very even all the way through. Smooth texture, no variation whatsoever. The hot process soap is, in my opinion, much more rustic, because you will get color changes within the loaf of soap itself, because some of the soap that's drying out when you mix it down, when you've seen me mix it down, the soap that's on the top that's drying out gets kind of a little bit lighter or a little bit whiter, and it creates, when you mix it back in, it creates a mottled effect, which I think personally is a much more interesting look than just plain white or plain uniform soap. And so, but that's a personal preference. Let's talk about fragrance next. So the fragrance oil I chose was a honey, milk, and oatmeal fragrance, with the intention of having oatmeal in the soap, which this doesn't, unfortunately. I chose this fragrance because it gets rave reviews from my supplier from other soap makers based on their customer feedback. But I have to tell you, the whole time I was creating this bar of soap, and I kept smelling this olive oil smell, and cooking it, I will tell you, makes it smell sweeter to me. I really wanted to throw rosemary in there in the worst way, but I don't have any rosemary fragrance oil, so I would have to use real rosemary, or I would have to infuse some rosemary into one of my oils. And because this fragrance got rave reviews, I thought, well, let me use this first and see what happens. It does not, I don't know what it's supposed to smell like, but it smells fresh and it smells piney a little bit to me, not whatever honey-ish is supposed to smell like. So I don't know. I'm going to go back and read the comments and see if anybody else picked up on that. Again, fragrance, just like taste, because they're related and processed in the same spot in your brain from the same neuroreceptors, is a very subjective thing. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is sampling and testing. I need some testers and some samplers, and I will offer it to my subs first. If I know that you're my sub, if you have a private listing for all your subscriptions, I totally respect that, but I have no way of knowing if you indicate that you want to be a tester. I have no way of knowing if you're actually a sub or not. And right now, non-subscribers are watching more than subscribers are, by a a little bit of a margin. So if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing if you find something useful or interesting in this channel. Maybe not all the content, but some of the content. If you are a subscriber and you would like to be a sampler tester, then please indicate that in the comments. Please leave me a comment that says, I would like to be a tester or a sampler, and you can, we'll work that out. The other way you can become a sampler or a tester is to go to alpacamade.com. There are links in the show notes, and sign up to be a monthly tipper. You can quit that program anytime you want to. It's $2.25 a month. You can sign up for a month, 2 months, 3 months. As long as I'm getting a payment from you, I will send you a sample. Quit anytime you want to. No questions asked, no flag, no foul, and no hard feelings. That brings us to our next project, which will be lard soap. It will be hot process and cold process with the exact same recipe to see how lard soap stacks up against what we've already made. That will air on Monday, June 22nd. Until then, I hope that you enjoyed this look at one formula of hot process soap. I really am enjoying it. I hope that you have a beautiful weekend and that your week is prosperous. Bless you. Stay in good health. Bye.